Welcome to Pitchin, episode 2. My name is Mgox.
My name is Tyson.
And we are back with another banger of an episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Could have been doing anything in the world, yet you're here with us. And we truly appreciate it, man. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We have our social media pages are now officially out, Tyson. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So that means you have no excuse where you can't follow us anywhere. So be it X, be it IG, be it TikTok, please support us. Go give us a follow right here on YouTube. All you have to do is just subscribe and like our videos. Don't forget to also give us feedback, man.
Please comment, search Pitchin ZA on all social media platforms. If you can't find Pitchin ZA, search Pitchin_ZA. That's how we differentiate our pages. But we really want to get into this one this week. I think this is a special episode this week because the Premier League hasn't officially started. But as we know, Premier League is always a conversation, even across all the other leagues and all the other tournaments that are being played. The first one of which, of course, we all know, the Club World Cup starts on the 15th of June, 2025.
And I'm looking forward to see how our Premier League teams actually fare up. I know Premier League has 2 teams. It was actually hard to believe. We had to verify that.
Yeah.
It was actually quite difficult. We had to even verify as to how do these teams actually get chosen for the Club World Cup?
So how teams get chosen for the Club World Cup is the strangest thing ever. Some notable exclusions include Manchester United that are not in the Club World Cup, Liverpool, Barcelona, amongst a host of many other top-performing clubs that somehow, according to FIFA's convoluted qualification metric for this tournament,
so give us
did not qualify.
The criteria, because I'm pretty sure like most of us are wondering how do they actually choose this?
Right, so there is no clear exact way on how teams qualify.
Okay.
But what they're trying to say or trying to allude to, I'm sure someone from FIFA will be able to explain.
Yeah.
It's one of those like how does VAR work type situations.
Yeah.
So effectively, they've just been judging over your performance over the past 4 years across major tournaments.
Oh,
so apparently Chelsea qualify from winning the Champions League with Thomas Tuchel a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's about 3 or 4 seasons ago.
And Man City, obviously, from winning the Champions League.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I guess it's trial and error with that tournament because it's still fairly new. So I'm guessing they're also still figuring it out, how to get teams to qualify. I think it will become clearer because what you've just said is still not very clear.
It's still not very clear. Yeah. I think, in my opinion, FIFA really is trying to come up with any sort of excuse in order to just create a super hyped up tournament. That's the main goal here. Because if you look at just like the power dynamic within the thing, within the different teams in the group stages, it's just definitely it's almost like the Carabao Cup, World Carabao Cup. If you really want to think about it, because we already had the Super Cup.
Not the World Carabao Cup.
I mean, no, honestly speaking, we already had the Super Cup.
Yeah. Hey, man.
So what's the World Club Cup?
4.
If you already have the FA Cup, what's the Carabao Cup?
I guess.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like just including teams from all different tiers in the world and just making up a tournament that's all hype.
And a big shout out to our African teams. I know Al Ahly is part of there. Mamelodi Sundowns from South Africa representing. We also have a team from Tunisia.
We have a team from Tunisia called Esperance de Tunis.
Yes, I've actually seen it a couple of times during CAF. They're not too bad. I know Wydad is also part of it.
Wydad is in there.
Our homeboy Rulani Mukwena had just been axed there as a coach. Yeah.
So it's Al Ahly, Wydad, Esperance, and Sundowns.
Oh yeah, it's all 4.
So that's all 4 teams.
Hard to believe. Africa has 4 teams and the EPL actually has 2. That's interesting.
That's very interesting.
Anyway.
Well, I suppose it is based on how you do in international tournaments.
I guess.
So, I mean, English teams don't always perform that well. They perform well, but they don't win all of the international tournaments.
Okay, let's get into it. So, first discussion: how will the Premier League clubs do in the Club World Cup? So, obviously, we're looking at Chelsea and Man City.
Yeah, for me personally, I really do expect Man City to do very well in this tournament.
Really?
Yeah, man. Man City still has a very strong squad. Pep's divorce really did do a number on them.
That's no joke. Divorce is no joke.
No, divorce is not a joke. But I'm just saying that. I mean, emotional trauma we know tends to hinder sports professionals.
Yeah.
But not to bag on Pep's divorce for too long.
Yeah.
But I really do see City coming back. They never went away.
Do you think Pep's divorce played a major role, or there was also an element of fatigue? Because, these guys have been playing at the highest level for 3 or 4 seasons now.
Right, so they've been playing at the highest level for about 7 or 8 seasons.
Yeah, and let's not forget the previous season, these guys won a treble, and they played the most amount of games out of all the teams across Europe, actually.
I can already tell you I don't believe that, because if you look at the players that they signed, these players have not been playing for City for all that long. Josef Variol, Kovacic, Doku, Haaland has not been there for that long. Savinho, yes. And all of these new guys that have come in. It's a new shape, Manchester City. So if they still had
so maybe the issues were around injuries and the fact that it's still it's like a rebuild to a certain degree.
Yeah, man. I feel like, again, not to bag too much on this point, but I feel like you can already see, as soon as Pep starts to have a dip, the team doesn't really make up for it. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Which doesn't speak to how bad the team is, but it speaks more to the effects of Pep Guardiola.
Coach, yeah.
So, again, Pep sorted his personal life out and immediately City are back.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I think now that
there's a correlation there.
There's a direct correlation.
Gotcha.
And a direct effect.
So you expect Man City to do very well during this Club World Cup?
I do expect Man City to do very well. I'm worried about Chelsea though.
I am worried about Chelsea. Bro. What can we say about Chelsea? Because as a team, they are arguably the most mediocre team I've watched this season. At moments, they rely heavily on individual brilliance, i.e. Palmer. And that is a cause for concern, because even up front, they are basically toothless in terms of upfront. Who's the black guy?
Nicholas Jackson is the main striker.
Bro, that guy. How many chances do you need to score a goal, bro?
Yeah, man. But poor Nicholas Jackson, man.
No, come on.
When he is great, he's amazing.
Man, come on. This guy, and the most frustrating thing about that guy is that he gets into such great positions and he just fumbles. His decision making is just crazy.
That is very true.
He makes it very difficult for himself.
He does make it very difficult for himself.
So I don't see how Chelsea actually does well in this tournament.
They're making it out of the group stages. They got s1e2, as we mentioned. They've got Flamengo and Lyon. I don't even know. This is not the Olympic Lyon that I know. It must be a different team. So they're playing a different team. They're playing a Mexican side, also called Club Lyon. And they're playing also a bunch of other teams that are really non-consequential.
For me, if they make it out the group stages, it would be an achievement in terms of my expectations of them. So I'd say they did well if they make it out of the group stages.
Okay.
I don't expect them anywhere beyond round of 16. I'd be purely surprised, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think maybe it could be then an opportunity for them to make a statement to people like me who have very less faith in them.
Right.
But I would really, really be surprised. Man City, on the other hand, I do see the rebuild. I mean, in the last 5 matches of the season, I do see a difference in the team. They're starting to gel again. I also, though, do have a concern around... I think it hasn't clicked yet. I hear what you're saying with Pep having sorted his personal life out. And perhaps maybe, it's a matter of, picking up where we left off. But I do think with the current squad that he has, I mean, I know that in the last matches, Haaland came back. So meaning he's also building his way back into fitness.
Yeah.
Rodri played the last game.
Yeah.
A lot of people were actually quite excited about that. But even he looked a bit rusty, obviously.
Yeah.
Having not played football in months.
Yeah.
So I do think they might struggle on that basis. But I think it's going to require a lot of leadership players such as... Stones, people, because when guys like Stones turn up, it becomes a different Man City.
Ruben Diaz,
who's the short guy that I like? Done quite bad, actually. I've been quite impressed with the games that he's played.
Yes,
guys like Doku, very inconsistent, but as I say, when the big players come into play, like he also switches on, right? So I also see them, to be brutally honest, I don't see Man City going beyond the quarterfinals. I'd be surprised if they actually are contenders. Okay. Look, also, please don't quote me on these predictions. We haven't seen a match of the Club World Cup. So
we are quoting you. We're not going back. But anyways, let's have a look at... some competition that these teams could possibly face.
Okay, cool. Let's look at their groups, actually. Maybe that will be telling.
Well, we're first going to start off by, as you said, just having a look at who
are the contenders.
Who are the contenders for Chelsea and Man City.
Got you.
If there aren't any, we're just going to skip the group.
Cool.
Right. So, Group D, Chelsea is with ES Tunis. They were with Flamengo, and as I mentioned, the Mexican side, Lyon. And Manchester City in Group
that's a nice blend of groups. You have an African team, a South American team,
another Middle American team.
Then you have Chelsea.
Yeah. Okay. Group G. I've never heard of this team before. Al Ain.
I don't know it either.
Yeah, they've got Al Ain. Apparently, they're based in Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
They're a UAE team. They're also playing with Juventus, which is a big one, and Wydad.
Is that Man City's group?
That is Man City's group, Group G.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so obviously...
That is an interesting group, actually.
They should make it out.
Hopefully. Now that I'm listening to the teams, Wydad Casablanca is no pushover. Look, they didn't have a good season, granted. I'll give them that, hence they axed Rulani Mokoena. But I've seen them in the CAF. And here's the other thing, right? And I think we need to mention this point. This is a tournament. So this is tournament football kicking in.
Yes.
Right? So these teams, some of them might not necessarily perform very well in the league. However, it's a different case during a tournament, right? So the tournament mentality kicks in.
Is that Sevilla syndrome?
Yeah, and to be fair, maybe we need to apply the same principle with Chelsea and Man City too.
Yes.
That perhaps maybe the league performance might not necessarily translate or affect to this. Maybe the tournament mindset will kick in, right? So the Man City group is really not as easy as it looks on paper. I'll say that.
Right.
It might get tricky for them.
So now, just based on that, are we both agreeing that Chelsea has a sort of an easier path out of the group stages?
100%. I'd say, yeah, for sure. I think Man City, it might be a bit tricky for them. I think Man City depends on how the first game goes for them.
Okay.
In terms of their group.
For me, I think the group qualification is determined by how Wydad does against Juve and Man City.
100%.
So this group is really for Wydad to come through and prove themselves. Let's have a look at potential competition for the tournament in the later stages
as a whole,
in each group. So in Group A, which has Al Ahly, Inter Miami, Palmeiras from South America, as well as Porto. I think Porto is the team to beat in this one. Moving right along, Group B, we have Atletico Madrid, Botafogo, I don't know how to pronounce that. They got PSG and Seattle Sound, right? Obviously, that is a really, really hectic group because Atletico Madrid and PSG.
100%.
That is going to be one of the group stage matches to watch. Group C, we also have another banger of a game where Bayern Munich will play Benfica. Oof. And then the other two teams who don't stand a chance is, well, Boca Juniors might because they got Memphis Depay.
Yeah.
But Auckland City, please just forget about it, guys. I'm so sorry. It's going to be great to play against Benfica and Bayern Munich for your TV rights and your PR.
Yeah.
Maybe make a little bit of money there, sell some tickets, sell some scarves. But it's pretty much over for you guys. But Boca Juniors, again, this is their opportunity to prove themselves there. Of course, we spoke about Group D with Chelsea. Group E, Inter Milan, Monterrey, never heard of them. River Plate, of course, we know River Plate is a very popular, big name export.
Where's River Plate based?
River Plate is an Argentine side.
Oh, okay.
The likes
that's
of
the one of your Herman Crespo's and the likes.
Javier Mascherano and those type of guys.
Okay.
Arawa Reds, never heard of them either. So I think Inter Milan is probably the only ones that being Champions League finalists that can give City and Chelsea really a run for their money. Group F, we have Dortmund, Fluminense, Mamelodi Sundowns, and Al-San. Obviously, I would be very biased because I really want South African teams to do well, and we've watched a lot of Sundowns.
Yeah.
I've watched more Premier League, but I have watched a little bit of Sundowns more than
most recently, the CAF final, which was also quite concerning.
Yeah.
I wouldn't lie. So I'm a bit scared, I won't lie. I want them to do well, but judging by their performance in the CAF final, I'm a bit concerned around how do they break a low block, for example. And which, funny enough, it never used to be a Mamelodi Sundowns concern, especially in the PSL. If you watch them in the PSL, they move with ease in terms of knocking the ball around. Similar style to Pep Guardiola's style. But that was under Coach Rulani Mokoena.
Who's obviously inspired quite largely by Pep Guardiola.
100%. So I don't know, with the new coach, I've noticed that they really struggle with the low block. And the Pyramids team that they played in the final of the CAF was, they had a very good game plan where they played a low block, but hit them on the rock, on the counter, and they got a goal, and they protected their goal, and then they knocked again with another one, right? So I'm just concerned. Also, remember, with these teams that they're playing with, they might not necessarily enjoy possession. There's that aspect to consider too. Their defense has also been very questionable this season. So moving with caution with Mamelodi Sundowns. I really want them to do well, but I'm quite scared on their behalf, I won't lie.
And which game would you say is the one that you're looking out for the most for them in this group stage? Is it the Fluminense, or do they have what it takes to give Dortmund a run for their money?
They might give Dortmund a run for their money. Look, Dortmund is a top team, make no mistake, but Mamelodi Sundowns is capable.
Okay.
They have the players in the tuck. I think the trick with Mamelodi Sundowns currently is around how they play or how they set up tactically. I think that will be the make or break. And I think the jury's still out on Cardoso, who is their current coach. He's still new, so he's still also embedding his own principles and his playing style within the players. So he hasn't really found his rhythm as a coach. Yeah, right. So the players are also still acclimatizing to him, and I think that might actually be a disadvantage for them in this tournament, because they're still finding each other's rhythm.
Yeah.
If they prepare very well against teams like your Dortmunds, I do think they stand within a chance, because when you look at their squad depth, they do have players that can compete at that level, I think, or that can challenge at that level, to be brutally honest with you. It's just a matter of, do they turn up on that day or not? So I think what will also be telling with most of these games, like I had prefaced with my previous points, is that the first games are going to be telling. Because once players get over those nerves and they realize that, hey man, we earned our position to be here, to be playing here. Then once those nerves come down, people then start playing their own football. I think then that's when we'll get an idea or an indication of how far teams like Mamelodi Sundowns can take it.
No, for sure. I mean, I'm going to have to agree with you, just for lack of a counter-argument.
Yeah.
Moving on to the remaining groups. Obviously, Group G we've just covered.
Yeah.
And Group H, Al Hilal, the famous.
Yes.
Pachuca. And then the two big teams, another really big group stage match to watch, Real Madrid and RB Salzburg. Yeah, so, I mean, they really are like contenders to knock Chelsea and Man City out in the next stage in every single group.
Who are your favorites?
My favorites to win are Real Madrid.
Okay.
Real Madrid have made some
Despite the season that they've had.
Despite the season they've had. I think they got a brand new manager who is a banger in his first season. I mean, he literally couldn't lose in his first season at Leverkusen.
Yeah.
Coming into Madrid, it's his home. These are incredible players. This is a tournament where no one knows or has played similarly to them at all, or on a similar level as them at all. And I think there's just a statement to be made for next season for Madrid. And another favorite I have, I cannot avoid mentioning Inter Milan, just because of what we saw in the Champions League. Not the final. not the final, but
the tournament as a whole. I agree.
But the tournament as a whole, yeah.
I agree with you. I was actually going to mark Inter as my favorites to win.
Okay.
Especially if provided, and I'll put this disclaimer, they are my favorites to win it if they stick with their coach.
Okay.
Yeah, because there are rumblings around the coach possibly leaving. So if they stick with the coach for this tournament, I do see them as my favorites. I really enjoyed the football that they were playing. I was shocked at how horrendous the final was, judging by how they've been playing leading to the final. It might have been, stage nerves, which happens in the final. So I do think, though, that also might play a role in how they perform in this tournament, in the sense that, okay, guys, we had the final jitters and everything, but let's regroup. We know what we're doing. We have a system. Let's just stick to the plan and do what we do best. So Inter are my favorites, I think, to win it.
Absolutely. I mean, also, obviously, we do have Champions League winners, PSG, who are also in the tournament.
100%.
So
that's also something to think about, actually.
Yes.
They might also be on that high. They seem to have a very good system going. They click, they understand each other. So I do think also that they might pose a serious threat, actually.
Serious threat. I mean, we saw in the Champions League, man, it looks like these guys can't lose. It's just been steamrolling every single team, except for Liverpool. Of course, they couldn't steamroll us. That's Liverpool.
Okay.
Right, let's move on to the next topic. We have the biggest transfer rumors incoming in the Premier League. I think there's just a few.
So we're doing incomings.
Incomings, we will do outgoings afterwards. So let me just list the ones that we want to discuss. Obviously, every single league will have dozens
100%.
of incomings and outgoings. But today we want to focus on 2, 4, 6, 8 of them. Just discussing a little bit. We might not get through all of our opinions and all our angles, but that's just in the interest of time. Please do remember to jump into the comment section, guys. It's very important. Football is nothing without us amateur pundits discussing these things. The first one, Brian Mbeumo leaving Brentford, and Manchester United showing massive interest, although getting rejected in the past couple of weeks. As of today, the 8th of June, 2025. Florian Wirtz to Liverpool, another big one. This Sunday, bid has also just been rejected. Martin Zubimendi to Arsenal, Ryan Cherky, Aint Nouri, as well as Tiani Reinders, all going to Man City. Man City still not off the pedal when it comes to the transfer windows. We also have the goalkeeper Mignon,
Chelsea.
signing to Chelsea, which is a very interesting one. Not sure why that's happening. And then, of course, Liam Delap as well, going to Chelsea from Ipswich Town.
One that you forgot, which was quite interesting and surprising, Kepa to Arsenal.
Kepa Arrizabalaga to Arsenal. Okay, cool.
Backup keeper to Raya, which was quite interesting. I never saw that one coming, I'll be honest. Whilst we're at it, can we touch base on some coaches? Because Ange is out, sacked.
Ange Postecoglou sacked.
And Thomas Frank might be coming in.
Thomas Frank might be coming into Spurs.
So maybe that's also worth a discussion or two.
I think we might also need to discuss Ruben Amorim staying.
What is this? This guy's full of jokes. What are you talking about?
No.
What do you mean, staying?
Ruben Amorim is staying at Manchester United.
So how is that news? Like, also, why are you surprised that he's staying? He did say that he's in it for the long run.
All right, let's get straight into it right now.
This guy.
If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it right now.
So speaking of United, Mbeumo. Interesting. Actually, funny enough, I never saw Mbeumo as a target as a Man United fan. At any point, I won't lie. At any point, not to say he's not a good player. He's a brilliant player. He had a good season. Put up some numbers, both assists and
some
goals.
Of the best.
Yeah, for sure. And he turned up in the big games too. So let's not forget about that. He has expressed interest that he wants to play at Old Trafford, which I like. So yeah, I enjoy players who sort of play for the badge and who show an interest from that perspective before their abilities. So I think for me, I'm sold into the project of Mbeumo playing for us on those bases, on the basis that he is Premier League tested, which adds. He does actually complement the system that our coach wants to play, which speaks a lot to our rebuild. And I think I'm excited. I saw a lot of criticism around he's not typically a name that would be linked with a club as big as Man United. But guys, I think we need to be honest, right? In as much as our history is, our equity history is one of the biggest in the world, we also need to face facts as to where we are as a club right now. And we're not going to be attracting the A-list players. So I think in terms of the current circumstances at Man United, in terms of our rebuild phase, complementing it, the fact that he's Premier League tested, complements what we're trying to achieve in terms of the playing style. I'm excited. I'm just as excited as the Cunha signing. I think, as a window after him, once we lock in a striker and a goalkeeper, our season, I'd be ready for the season. And I think we in with a chance for top 4 finish.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, Manchester United has an amazing squad. Just massively underperforming in general. But, I mean, them making it to a European final does speak volumes about just what type of team you have.
Potential. And
it definitely shows that they've been underperforming in the Premier League. So when a team is underperforming, it sounds much better than a team that's just poor. There's a big difference, you know what I mean?
I get it.
So I will say credit to Manchester United for maintaining their pool because I do hear you what you mean when you say players like Mbeumo have not typically been linked with a move to Manchester United in the past. United get the best players in the world,
100%.
right? But if you look at it from an outsider's perspective, so in my view, Mbeumo was maybe earmarked for Liverpool should we have not signed, or if we hadn't signed, given Mo Salah an extension. Just because he plays similarly in a sense, or can be used similarly, right? Yeah. But big shout out to Manchester United for signing Cunha and potentially
good business so far.
Incredibly good business, especially considering the fact that you are signing these two of the best performers in the Premier League in the 24-25 season without European competition.
I guess.
So no shout out to Manchester United. Let's move on to arguably the biggest story in transfer news.
It is.
Florian Wirtz to Liverpool from Bayer Leverkusen. I want to start by saying I think this was assumed to be a done deal just because of the relationship Liverpool has with Bayer Leverkusen and the fact that we just signed one of Florian Wirtz's favorite players to play alongside in Jeremy Frimpong.
Yeah.
So that one is very, very tricky, man. I think anyone's guess is as good as our guess as far as that is concerned. One thing we do know as a fact is that Florian Wirtz wants to come to Liverpool.
You think
Liverpool, he's been saying it many times. I mean, the one German journalist put out the news that Florian Wirtz wants to come to Liverpool and take Alexis McAllister's number 10 jersey. Florian Wirtz posted an Instagram story rubbishing those rumors, saying that journalist is a clown. He respects all players. Why would you need to mention that you respect all players for a team that you're not going to? Or if you're not confirming that?
I think there might be a spanner in the works that you're not maybe conceding to.
What might that be?
New coach, Erik ten Hag. They just finished second. Granted, they won it the previous season, the league that is. New coach presents new opportunities, new project. And we don't know what Ten Hag is whispering in his ear right now to say, because I'm starting to see, I don't know if you've noticed this, but football is starting to evolve into basketball. In basketball, the players sort of take the lead from a perspective of, well, these are A-list players, that is.
Yeah.
They take the lead in terms of how a team is built around them.
Yes.
And they have a say around who gets signed to the franchise.
Yeah.
And football is slowly moving in that direction. I mean, I'll give you a typical example. Most recently, when Mbappe was at PSG, he had a lot of say on who gets signed and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Right? And we're starting to see that manifest in some of these clubs. So
right.
I'm saying that to say, if Ten Hag whispers in his ear and says,
gives him the keys.
I'm giving you the keys, my boy. I'm building the team around you. We're building a project here. Let's build it together. It might seem quite, intriguing for such a player who knows, by the way, that when they get to Liverpool, they're not going to be the number one. I mean, let's be fair.
Right.
Yeah, they're going to be number one maybe in the next 2 to 3 years. For as long as Mo Salah's there, for as long as Virgil's there, they're always going to be the shadows. So Liverpool prospects speaks more to the future for a player like him. Is to say, listen, my boy, we're already champions. We now aspiring for bigger things, i.e. Champions League, i.e. Club World Cup. And you are part of the project. And in the next 4 to 5 years, you're going to be the face of the club. Whereas Erik ten Hag could be saying, my boy, you're the face of the club right now. Right? Let's build together. Let's see where we could take this thing. And you could maybe even play a role around how we build around you.
Right.
I see that being a very, attractive offer to a player like him. So I don't want you to downplay that aspect on the basis of he might really like Liverpool. I don't dispute that. He might really have aspirations or had aspirations of playing at Liverpool. But I'm saying now there might be a span in the works. And just listening to the rumblings around some of the players linked to Bayer, obviously Ten Hag has this thing of he has a neck for recruiting his old players.
Okay.
They're speaking about Anthony from Man United. They're also speaking of there's new rumblings around Garnacho, for instance. So I think when you look at the profile of those players,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also attractive for him because he still stays the star of the show.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, as a coach, I'm appealing to his ego. If I'm Ten Hag, and I know players lead with their egos more than anything, especially at the age where he's at now and where he's trying to make a statement in Europe. So I think you guys must be very wary. I think he's a good player. I think it's definitely someone that would improve Liverpool. I think so, especially with the current system. And the fact that the coach wants him says a lot for me. I think Arne Slot probably has plans for him. But I think it's trickier than you think.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will definitely agree with you, which is why I said that I think anyone's guess is as good as anyone else's. Considering the type of players that Leverkusen have been actually linked with.
Yeah.
You mentioned Garnacho and Anthony from Manchester United, but there are also Harvey Elliott, Mark Flecken, the goalkeeper who we will talk about just now, has also signed with them. James McAtee from Man City. Gerald Kwanzaa from Liverpool. And I had one more here. Ryan Cherky, of course, we know he's going to Manchester City.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do agree with you. The only thing that I will say about that is, as attractive as that may be, I disagree with you on that. Florian Wirtz won't be the main man at Liverpool. If you look at his position, he's playing as a 10.
Okay.
As a 10-9. Okay. That's his role, right? Okay. This man is a powerhouse in the box, which is something...
Who's he competing with in your squad?
He's competing directly with Dominic Szoboszlai.
Ooh.
He's competing directly with Dominic Szoboszlai and how Luis Diaz has been used.
I was about to...
So if I'm Luis Diaz...
I was about to say Luis Diaz is also in the equation.
If I'm Luis Diaz and Florian Wirtz is coming into the team, I would stay.
Why?
Because it offers you an opportunity to play in your natural role, which is a left wing. He's not a number 9. We've used him as a number 9 in the past season. Second highest goal scorer in the Liverpool squad, but unhappy. We clearly still do need an attacking 9/10. Apparently, according to some experts, Florian Wirtz comes in and fulfills that Bobby Firmino-like role, just with a little bit more aggression. You know, Bobby Firmino is not that aggressive. He's just very creative. Florian Wirtz is both creative and aggressive. You know what I mean? So he will be the main man when he comes in. I know you're speaking about Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah.
Yeah.
Of course, we know they're the highest earners in the club.
Yeah.
I think most of what made the biggest news around those two players was the fact that they needed to sign extensions.
100%.
And their age and their accolades and all of that, right?
Yeah.
But I still think Florian Wirtz walks into any team and is the main guy. Right now, 2025 breaks Premier League signing records. Most expensive signing ever to come into the Premier League. He's a main man in any team he walks into in the world. Who's bigger?
Right now,
in terms of potential moving players.
Okay, cool. When you put it like that, context matters. I was about to say. Okay, cool.
Obviously, Mbappe is bigger.
Yeah.
Jude is perhaps bigger.
Yeah.
The Florian Wirtz story eclipsed Trent Alexander-Arnold's move to Madrid in world football conversations. Speaking from a Premier League fan perspective.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
So, moving on to the next guy. Martin Zubimendi snubs Liverpool in January and joins Arsenal.
This is an interesting one because if you are Thomas Partey, how do you feel about this, bro?
Thomas Partey potential exit. I'm thinking
because this is a statement.
It's a big statement. He's a massive statement player.
Yeah.
Similar statement to what Arsenal did when signing Partey.
100%.
Yeah, so if I'm Thomas Partey, I'm really looking at the door, especially considering what Thomas Partey could potentially do.
Look, I even think to a certain degree this is a spit in the face to Thomas Partey.
Yes.
Considering Thomas Partey the past 2 seasons has been literally holding that midfield.
Holding that midfield together.
Excuse the pun. Literally. So I think I'm actually quite surprised by this. Even him choosing Arsenal, actually, that's Quite surprising.
Yeah, man. I think I'd have to say Zubimendi is one of those guys. He's Spanish through and through. Literally, he stayed at his club because they sold him the view and the culture of the town on a daily basis, where at Liverpool he wouldn't have that. And that's the reason why Martin Zubimendi stayed at his club. It's probably the most insane thing I'd ever heard in my life.
That is crazy.
As part of the reasons that the team cited for him staying and not coming to Liverpool, right?
But also speaks to his principles. So.
Exactly. But obviously everyone knows that the reason why London clubs actually have a major pull is because of the lifestyle element in London and the ease of travel to your hometown on a 100%. Weekend from there. You know, so Martin Zubimendi obviously then playing under a Spanish coach must have definitely contributed to his decision to join Arsenal.
Let's talk about Man City business. Are you impressed, underwhelmed by this business?
I'll be very honest with you, I'm very, very much impressed. I really think Man City have made incredible aggressive signings.
Who's your star signing?
My star signing would have to be Ryan Cherky, of course, after we saw his performances. Man, that guy is a generational talent, if I have to say so. And I think Ryan Cherky's decision to move to Man City is also a statement. He's moving early and to a big club.
100%.
You know, he wants to go there and prove himself. He will have to sort of vie for opportunities, considering how many attacking players Man City tends to keep, and Pep's style, you know. But we all know Pep Guardiola and that bench, man. Pep Guardiola, don't play FPL, don't sign any Manchester City players on your Fantasy Premier League. They will be benched after scoring a hat-trick. I promise you. So for me, that Ryan Cherky, Reinders, Foden, even up to Haaland. Competition for attacking roles, central attacking roles, is going to be very, very tricky. But Ait Nouri is a very, very tricky conversation because Ait Nouri at left back is now competing directly with Josk Gvardiol, who was not signed so long ago.
I was about to say, like, he was literally unveiled a season or two ago. And there was a lot of conversation around him. And actually Pep spoke very highly of him. In fact, I remember during press conferences, he used to say, this guy is going to add a very different dynamic to how we play. He's also aggressive going forward and also has the capabilities of even scoring. And we've seen actually this past season.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he can score and stuff. So this makes for an interesting study. My theory is that I do see Guardiola moving a lot more forward. I don't know in what capacity or role. We've seen glimpses of that this past season, where he plays a lot more upfront as opposed to the back. Because let's also be honest, his defensive abilities are questionable. Well, from my perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, his defensive abilities are very inconsistent. He does have good games, but there's certain games where, you know, he comes across a tricky player, it becomes very shaky for him. And I do think he will be positioned differently. I see Pep doing that. He does that a lot. We might see a very new evolved role for him to accommodate Nuri.
No, I mean, I definitely have to agree with you on that. I think if you look at Josk Gvardiol, he's a left-sided Trent Alexander-Arnold in that sense, where, you know, he gets caught out because of his attacking prowess and duties. Yeah, I mean, a coach tells you to do the things that these guys do. You wouldn't play yourself out of position, you know. But Josk Gvardiol is a good defender, especially as a left back. Yeah, it just happens when he's been asked to move forward, and then the ball gets played into his into the spot that he just vacated. You know.
So is Reinders so I don't know how to pronounce it. Is Reinders more of a KDB replacement?
Reinders is meant to be the KDB replacement. I think Cherky too
Okay.
Because so Cherki is like what, the Foden, the 10?
Yeah.
Maybe Foden is being looked at as someone who hasn't been exacted his real full potential.
Yeah.
Because everyone can see Phil Foden is an amazing soccer player.
Yeah.
I mean, England, like they signed him. I mean, not signed him, but they called him up for international duty very early.
And the jury's still out on his best position, to be honest.
What is his best position?
I mean,
where does he really perform at his best?
Yeah.
With a player that's that ambiguous, can a coach really use him for longevity in a season? Maybe as a super sub, we know he comes on and does magic. So I feel like Ryan Cherki is the kind of player that's been brought on to fulfill that Phil Foden role. But Reinders, 100%, is there to replace KDB.
Interesting.
Chelsea.
First of all, what did you make of the Liam Delap transfer? I was surprised that he chose Chelsea, actually.
I was surprised that he chose Chelsea, but I was not surprised that Chelsea wanted to sign him.
No. I agree. But I was surprised that he would choose Chelsea.
Yeah.
We're looking at the dynamics at Chelsea right now. I mean, let's look at with their strikers. Is Nkunku still there?
Still there.
You have Raheem Sterling coming back.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And Liam Delap. Nicholas Jackson. And Liam Delap, let's also not forget his age. He's still young. He still hasn't matured as a player. Which is a point that I want to stay on, because often at times with such players with that age, they need game time in order to develop. Mm-hmm. And I actually see one scenario happening for Delap.
Okay.
I'd be surprised if the scenario doesn't happen. I see him going on loan.
You see Liam Delap going on loan after having such a great season in the Premier League with Ipswich?
Yes, because I do think, one, he's going to struggle. Well, here's what I preempt happening. He's going to come on first few games of the season. He's going to struggle, right, to fit into the Chelsea setup. And as a result, they're going to go back to either Jackson or Raheem Sterling or whatever the case might be. And he's going to struggle with game time. He's a young player. As good as he is, I mean, even just looking at his performance at Ipswich, right? He's not going to give us double figures in his first season. I don't see him giving us double figures. I'm sorry. Okay. I see him giving us a solid 8 or 9 goals, maybe game-changing type of goals. He is quite aggressive, which I like, but I do think that I'm yet to be convinced on how clinical he is in front of goal. And maybe it's also not an indictment on him because he used to play for Ipswich. And maybe the jury's still out because Chelsea does create chances. One thing about Chelsea, they create chances.
A lot of chances.
Yeah. So, and maybe that might actually add to convincing me when he's confronted with such chances. How does he perform, right? Is he as clinical, or is he going to take time to sort of gel in? But my suspicion is that, and I'm just basing this on his age and just how I've also noticed the games I've watched of Ipswich where he's in the starting lineup. And I think he's going to need time to adapt. And unfortunately, I don't think Chelsea has time.
Right.
Chelsea needs results because this is going to be Maresca's second season. So now things are going to start, they need to start happening, unfortunately. He needs a trophy, for example. Those are the things that he's going to be judged by from a progress perspective. And I think he might be forced into a hand to if he's not giving him what he wants, he might have to look alternatively and send him on loan and stuff of that, which is also not a bad thing for a player like him. And I'll reference a Man United example, right? I remember when a couple of seasons ago we sent Ahmad on loan. Look at the player he is now, right? And I think those loan spells did him good, to a certain degree in terms of just maturing him as a player, and also just giving him that fighting spirit to fight for his position. And I think Liam Delap needs that. I don't think he's ready for the top league. I want to say this. He needs to convince me,
right?
Honestly,
Well, you guys have just signed Brian Mbeumo, so that's a massive blow to Ahmad's security in his role
100%
at Manchester United. So I just want to mention that.
For a club of Man United stature, that used to be normal. Because that's what we had. Like we had that sort of depth per position.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with me, I see it happening the opposite way to how you're describing. I see Delap at Chelsea coming in and then starting off the bench. So they are recognizing that he's a young player.
Got you.
He comes on and disrupts what they're doing in their attack.
Got you.
I mean, Chelsea still have the potential of bringing back like a guy like Mikhailo Mudryk.
Actually.
As well. You know what I mean? They have all of these attacking players. I mean, you mentioned Sterling also going back. Maybe he might stay. Maybe he might go to Saudi League.
I think they also have a couple of loan spells.
They have a lot of loan spells.
They need to actually consider.
Look, Chelsea's got enough players. I mean, for them to bring this guy in, he's really, for me, in my opinion, in the best possible place. Second to, I would have thought he would go to Manchester United.
100%.
Because Manchester United does need a player of his profile.
100%.
But he chose Chelsea. Obviously, he wants to play in Europe. He backs himself. And back to your point, I mean, that confidence, that aggression, that definite determination to play. I don't think he's as green as you describe. I think he's played in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Liam Delap comes into Chelsea, comes on as a sub in the first couple of games, and then proves himself. I predict Liam Delap proves himself as a really good player, and I think Chelsea then move on to the next step. I think Chelsea challenges Arsenal.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the difference between their points and their performances on a holistic league argument, I mean, Chelsea was... they have a trophy, or don't they? They do.
They do.
They just won?
Yeah, they just won the conference. Yeah, the conference. They have
Arsenal don't.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Chelsea are in Champions League spots just the same as Arsenal.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the players. It's not like they did like Spurs, who won a trophy but didn't perform well in the league.
Got you.
So I really think the addition of someone who has been banging in goals for Ipswich, a team that got relegated, which then goes back to what you were saying now about the potential for opportunities.
Yeah, the goal scoring opportunities.
Chelsea create a lot of chances.
They do.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like guys like Gusto, obviously he hasn't been really performing that well, but I think it's just because of how much belief he has in their potential to score goals.
Yeah.
So he will play and then he will look bad because he didn't think to, he believes in it. He goes forward with full belief that they're going to score a goal.
Yeah.
And I think a guy like Liam Delap bangs those opportunities.
Got you.
Yeah. So Liam Delap to Chelsea for me is a go. It's a green light.
Speaking of big transfers going out, coming in, let's touch base on the ones going out potentially. Man United released a statement that Alejandro Garnacho is definitely on the market. They're definitely parting ways this season.
£50 million.
And I think, look, it might sound shocking, but I think we're making a mistake.
Yeah, okay.
I think we're making a mistake. Look, I understand the business, because when we sell a player of Garnacho, it's clean profits in the book, which speaks to clean profit on the basis that he's an academy player, right? However, I think Garnacho is a once-in-a-while generational talent.
Interesting.
And I think he's a victim of his circumstances. So here's what happened at United over the past couple of seasons, is that because of our injury woes, because of our coaching woes and structural managerial woes, players like Garnacho became front runners and players that are relied upon, which is wrong. because when you look at his age profile, you as a team as big as United shouldn't be relying on an 18, 19-year-old. And as talented as he is, he still needs guidance. He still needs coaching. His age says that, right? And I think what we've been doing over the past 2 or 3 seasons where he's been playing is we've relied on his natural abilities, but there hasn't been much coaching on his part. And when you watch his game, you do realize that there's certain aspects that need to be coached. One, he gets into great spaces. He's brilliant behind the line, right? Running behind the line. He's brilliant at creating those sort of opportunities. However, his decision-making lets him down 80% of the time. He doesn't know when to cross. He doesn't know when to shoot. And even in some instances where most of us United fans get frustrated with him, it's his decision-making aspect, of which, as a casual fan, you become annoyed, but in you being annoyed, you overlook the chance that he created in that regard. And you don't actually put enough emphasis or respect on the fact how many chances he's created as a player. And over the past 3 seasons, I'll be honest with you, he's been our front runner in terms of chances created, alongside Bruno. And you don't get into those spaces by chance. It means there is an element of talent that is there. However, that talent hasn't been nurtured, and I don't think it's an indictment on him. And that's why I say that's a mistake on our part. That even the basis, because I've seen some United fans, arguing the basis of his quote-unquote ill-discipline, which is unfair, I think.
I mean, how many Manchester United players have been criticized
very unfair.
For discipline? It's so unfair.
And also, when you look at what is considered ill-discipline in this context, we just played the Europa League final. He comes out to the media and his comments are around, look, I helped the team in the knockout stages till the final. I even scored in some respects. I didn't understand why I didn't play in the final. And I got brought on as a sub, right? If you analyze that statement, for me, as a coach, I would that's what I want, if anything, because that screams of a player who wants to play football.
For the team.
You get what I'm saying? Who believes that they deserved minutes.
And they can win.
And they can win more than anything. That's like a Ronaldo mentality. That's why Ronaldo, throws his toys around when he gets subbed off. Right? That sort of mentality, you don't just get it in any other player. So I see that, but I don't know how other United fans saw an ill-disciplined player who spoke against the team in that respect. And I think what he said was warranted. He did really perform very well leading up to the final. And part of the criticism of that final was Amorim's decision-making to a certain degree, to say, why start that team? So I do think we are judging him unfairly, and I think we're making a mistake. And I have a theory around where he could potentially go, where he would actually be a perfect fit and make a huge difference. Right.
Before you get into that, I want to mention why I really do support your statement that it's a very confusing exit. I mean, them just deciding like that, I think there might have been some sort of beef
100%
behind
with
closed
the coach.
doors.
I think it has a lot to do with the coach.
It must have a lot to do with the coach.
100%.
You've seen Ruben Amorim is very aggressive in the way he deals with the players.
100%.
It's like, like getting a police officer to be a principal of a team. Of a school. But anyways, I want to say about Garnacho is that I really thought that they would do a lot better this season. If you ask anyone, I really gave Manchester United a massive shout this season.
Even with Ten Hag before Amorim.
I'm talking about with Amorim.
With Amorim. Season. Okay, cool.
Because, dude, Ruben Amorim is an amazing manager. Well, he had an amazing couple of seasons at his old club.
At Sporting,
Right. If you look at Manchester United's spine, bro, Manchester United is really, really good. I mean, you do have Harry Maguire. he's now he's really showing his true colors
100%.
At Manchester United.
Especially this season.
He's always been great for me. Yeah. I mean, you don't become one of the most expensive signings.
Centre backs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right up behind him, you guys just signed Ugarte. Mm-hmm. On the right, you have Mazraoui. Mm-hmm. Then you also have Bruno Fernandes playing in the 8. And then let's look at your other midfield players. You have Kobe Mainu, Casemiro. These are like guys that, Kobe Mainu learning a lot from Casemiro, and also Kobe Mainu being a man of his own, like 100%. Really showing that
the potential.
He's definitely here to stay in the conversation. He's recently just gone missing and we don't know what happened. But anyways, and then of course we're talking about Manchester United's attacking players, the youngsters, all of them, Ahmad, I'm talking about Rasmus Højlund, we're talking about Garnacho, you know what I mean? And these guys really did show a lot of potential, a lot of flair, and a lot of sort of teamwork, and like really flying the Manchester United flag highly.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I mean, I believe Ruben Amorim, which is something that I just mentioned now.
Yeah.
I'm surprised why he's staying in Manchester United, because he's been so militant.
Yeah. In
his approach, refusing to change his tactics, criticizing players very harshly.
Yeah.
For a manager that just came into the team. Saying things like if he wants to leave, he can leave. Like all those types of things, you know. So I'm actually shocked by. I think it was the club might have been faced with an either or.
100%.
Are we gonna keep the manager?
Yeah.
And just get rid of a player?
Yeah.
Who Manchester United has typically over the past couple of seasons labeled players.
Yeah.
As bad apples.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
Jadon Sancho.
100%.
Zlatan, Ronaldo, Rasmus Højlund. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They label players, and it's so unfair, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Lukaku, Lazy, whatever, all of these things. So I definitely do agree with you that it's a big mistake for them to get rid of him.
With Garnacho specifically, I think it's a big mistake.
So where do you think he's going to go?
I actually see Garnacho at Spurs. I see Thomas Frank coming in. I see Daniel Levy actually opening the checkbook. If you look at also his price range, it does fit the profile.
They have the money.
They have the money, definitely. So I think he would, and he gets to Spurs and he elevates the team instantly. I mean, him playing alongside Son, playing alongside Kulusevski. My boy, I already see it. Like
I can see it.
Yeah, I definitely see that front, team being very competitive instantly with a Garnacho on that side. So I foresee a Spurs. Also, interestingly enough, I also see he strikes me as a Arteta type of player.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he might be a good backup, especially when you look at what happened when Saka was injured. Type of dynamic. Arsenal are right now in the phase where they're trying to build their squad depth more than anything.
As we spoke about last time.
Yeah, so I think a player like Garnacho instantly improves that aspect.
I agree.
Them,
off the bench,
100%. And looking at his age, that complements that.
I agree.
You get what I'm saying? So I see Spurs, I see Arsenal gunning for him. Other than that, obviously, would be the Spanish teams, because they've always shown interest in him, because I think they think his style complements the league.
Yeah.
So I see him going to like your. There was talks of Atletico. So the likes, but for me, I really think we did a blunder there. It's a huge blunder.
So for me, I do also see other teams that we might not know.
Yeah, for sure.
We have a lot of budget.
For sure.
I mean, 50 million is not a bad price to pay.
For sure.
For a player of his capability and his age.
100%.
Especially with that hunger. I mean, he really can be a superstar elsewhere.
100%.
Any team. It could be a Celta Vigo. It could be a Napoli. It could be a, you know what I'm saying? It could be a Leverkusen. teams with projects.
Yeah.
Back to your argument that you were making about Florian Wirtz, like
yes,
going into a team and being in the statement player. 100%. He could really go to any team that has 50 million
and he becomes the
guy.
Yeah.
Talking about the guy that should have been the guy, did not become the guy, but wants to be the guy elsewhere. My guy, Lucho.
Yeah.
Luis Diaz, valued at £37.5 million at the age of 28, potentially going to Barcelona or the Saudi League. Look, man, I think much like Rasmus Højlund, this would be a massive blow for Liverpool to lose a player of Luis Diaz's quality.
Much like Garnacho, you mean? Not Højlund.
Sorry, I mean Garnacho.
Yeah.
Garnacho, Højlund, Garnacho. But anyways, yeah, so much like Garnacho, the only difference I would say is that it's not the main option. You know, Luis Diaz has to play every single day in training with a target on his back. But that is, again, to your point, it's the nature. It's a Liam Delap argument. It's the nature of playing for a big side.
100%.
It's also what you said about Real Madrid.
Yeah.
You literally go in there, bro, like with a target on your back, and that is what you want. You want to play with the best players in the world. You know what I mean? So if you go to Barcelona, I mean, I feel like it's just much of the same.
Yeah.
I don't see Barcelona paying the money. Well, 37.5 million is not a lot.
Yeah,
but
I mean, with their financial woes, because they're also in a recovery, I see it being a challenge.
What is he doing there?
Look,
is he replacing Rafinha? Is he adding squad depth to Rafinha?
He's adding squad depth because I think the argument of the conversation in Barcelona is around, also similar to Arsenal, is that we've come close. We now need to reinforce the squad depth because what happens when a Rafinha comes off? The drop-off is massive. So I think it's more of that. It's like what happens when a Yamal is coming off or has an injury. The drop-off is massive. So I think for them, it's more of building that squad depth. And I think a player like Luis Diaz actually does add a lot of squad depth.
Absolutely.
He sort of maintains that sort of level when he comes on. But the other question is, look, he's already, for a lack of a better word, struggling at Liverpool to maintain starting 11. So does he really want to go to Barcelona and do the same? You know, where he's like a squad player. He's not really a starting 11.
And the one thing I want to say is that he's actually been favoured by Arne Slot a lot at Liverpool. You know, will Hansi Flick do the same thing for him at Barcelona?
Yeah, I mean,
he's bringing him in, but then will he favour him?
If they want him, the argument is that maybe there's a plan. You know, maybe there is a plan. But I will say this though, I think it's good business for Liverpool though, financially.
Okay.
I think cash in right now. Because, like you're saying, age is not on his side. So, and you say he's left with 2 years on his contract?
He's left with 2 years on his contract, 28 years old. Contract ends when he's 30.
You have a new coach who's somewhat in a phase now where he's going to be building his own squad and sort of phasing out Jurgen Klopp, players to a certain degree in the next year or two.
Yeah.
So, and he does qualify as a Jurgen Klopp recruitment. So, I think if I'm Liverpool, I'm weighing it from that perspective, and I say, yeah, let's count our losses, cash in, make a bit of money, and be able to actually increase in terms of, our financial spend more than anything.
Okay, I do see that, but I don't think Liverpool struggles for money in that way.
It's not even about struggling for money, but I think
it's just about making some money.
Yeah, it's about good business. I mean, from a business standpoint, when you weigh the option of, we know in a year or two's time, we might be confronted with a situation where his form has dropped, and we as Liverpool are not even looking to continue, for example.
Yeah.
And then he just goes.
So, from my opinion, I think what the trade-off really is money versus goals.
100%.
Luis Diaz does score a lot of goals. He's playing out of position right now.
Yeah.
And he's bagging them in. I mean, he's the second highest goal scorer in a championship winning side behind the top goal scorer in the league, Mohamed Salah. I think he really does have a lot of value. He adds a lot of value. These are the type of players who really are like starting in the game, causing that much disruption, chaos on the wing and in the box in the final third, and allowing and facilitating gaps to opening up these opportunities for other players to come in and score goals. I know he's 28 years old, but in my the eye test. With the eye test, he doesn't look any older than 25, 24.
True.
He's still in his prime.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So I think the whole argument around his age is for teams who are trying to sign him to make. But at Liverpool, he looks just fine. He looks golden. I mean, he could really play just as long as Mo Salah has been done. I mean, he has done. Mo Salah is 32 years old, 4 years older than Lucho, but he's literally had his best season ever at Liverpool. There's just something about La AXA, man. The AXA training facility, man. These guys know how to keep players fresh for long. So, I mean, again, it's another player who the jury really is out about his.
So you would keep him?
I would keep him personally.
Okay.
I would keep Lucho. I don't think 37 million pounds is really enough to forego those goals.
Okay.
Does Gakpo score those goals? We don't know.
Yeah.
Florian Wirtz definitely can give you those numbers. But now Florian Wirtz is kind of offsetting the Trent creativity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now how are you replacing Lucho? Unless we're saying, if we don't sign a striker, then we need to keep Lucho.
Gotcha.
But if we do sign a striker, then maybe we can start to think about that argument, making good business, getting some cash in, and allowing him to, live his dream, because he's always wanted to play for Barcelona. Mark Flecken moving from Brentford to Leverkusen. I think that's one of the moves of the season on the lower level.
Yeah.
Dude, Mark Flecken has had an incredible 2024-25 season.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, we've just seen Brentford. I mean, everyone who watches the Premier League has really looked at Brentford and had a joy. He's just been a joy to watch as a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I mean, him and Sells.
Yeah.
They've just done so well for their teams. And I think him going to Leverkusen, playing under Ten Hag, they're really taking eyes to the Bundesliga, And for £11 million, I think it was a steal. Yeah.
For sure. I agree with you. Two players, Man United, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho. Your thoughts?
I mean, we had the discussion. I said
Rashford.
Rashford was the signing of the season.
Yeah.
Him and Asensio in combination, though.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Because
Villa's not interested anymore.
They're not interested.
So as Man United, do we keep him and try to rekindle the relationship?
No, you do not keep him. I mean, what's his name? Garnacho.
Yeah.
Has literally just like Manchester United players fans have actually completely forgotten about Rashford. Let's be honest.
That's true.
And in 6 months.
That's true.
You forgot about Rashford in 6 months.
Yeah.
Been there his whole life.
Yeah.
So I don't think Rashford stays.
So you don't think it's irreparable?
It's irreparable. That relationship is gone. It's damaged.
Sancho?
Jadon Sancho, same story. I don't think Manchester United keep him. I think Jadon Sancho also headed elsewhere. I don't know where though. That's my thing.
I think for Sancho, for me, I don't see a team in the Premier League actually going for him. One of the biggest issues with Sancho is around his wages, or his ask rather, which was part of the reason why Chelsea didn't retain him. Chelsea actually wanted to retain him. However, they couldn't agree on the wages.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to maintain the same level of wages which he was paid at United, which were exorbitant compared to his quality. And I think that's the biggest challenge for Sancho. I think it's going to be very tricky for a Premier League side. I mean, would a Spurs go for Sancho? Would a Crystal Palace go for Sancho?
No.
They wouldn't be able to afford him.
It's
That's
not
the other thing.
It's the wage argument. No one in the Premier League is affording Sancho. Then I think closest thing is Saudi Pro League. I think Rashford too. I think Rashford too.
You think Rashford Saudi already?
Yeah, I mean Rashford, man.
Already?
I wish you would have seen.
I see Rashford getting into Spain
for £50 million.
I see him going to Spain.
Who do you think will sign Rashford for £50 million?
I can see him at Atletico.
With those poor performances?
He plays a similar style to what Simeone likes to play. Like, he needs that quick counter-attack football. that Rashford offers you. So I think Atletico might you know, a team like Atletico, some team in Italy maybe, you know, who knows. Thinking of doing business again. What's this? Is it Lazio?
Lazio?
Yeah, maybe a team like that, you know.
I just think for me again, I think these guys, man, these English guys, their wages are just too steep.
Yeah, the wages is the issue.
And I mean, £50 million for Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, no.
I mean, there's so many young players. Anthony Gordon. There's all types of players.
I get your argument for Saudi. Saudi makes sense.
Saudi Pro League makes sense for these guys. I mean, you know, Ivan Toney, who was disgraced in the league for the gambling thing.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of managers really came out and said they don't understand why no one came out for Toney. He's recently come out with a statement. I mean, in terms of sort of reputation and kind of like desirability, Ivan Toney or Rashford and Sancho are in a similar place.
Yeah, 100%.
No one wants them.
Yeah.
They're very expensive.
Yeah.
So Saudi Pro League is there, and Ivan Toney, like I was saying, came out with a statement saying, if you think the Saudi Pro League is poor football, come and watch, and then let us know if you think it's...
I wouldn't take that.
He's really
gospel. He's obviously paid to say
he's
that.
Definitely got a check for that slogan. Yeah. You know, that's a tagline for sure. That's a payoff. You know,
anyway,
come watch. If you think Saudi Pro League is bad, come watch and tell us if you still think so. Whatever.
Anyway, just a quick hit. What do you make of Thomas Frank Spurs?
Oh,
before we get into that, your thoughts on Spurs letting Ange go?
Yeah, I mean, it was time for Thomas Ange to go.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, he just won them a trophy after how many years?
Yeah, he was the 17th. One place off of relegation.
He got them in the Champions League.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, wow. Also, he had injuries.
United, I don't understand what you're talking about. United has sacked managers for less. So have Spurs. Thank you for winning us the trophy, man, but it's not looking good. I understand.
That discussion went to
I think the discussion went, who are we getting before we fire Ange?
Ooh.
Then they say Thomas Frank, then they're like, okay, Ange can go.
Oh, wow.
Think about it.
Yeah,
does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Dude,
who are we signing? They make the agreement and then they say Ange can go.
Doc, this is the same team that sacked Mourinho a week before the final. Like, who does that?
Why would you sack a manager that wins finals a week before the final? You know what I mean? So I think Ange, it was time to go. I mean, like, the fans were unhappy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, Ange has just been playing garbage football, to be very honest.
Yeah.
Especially considering the type of team he had.
Do we see him again in the Premier League?
No. Where?
You don't think we see Ange?
No, I think it's gone. At
a Crystal Palace.
I see him as a AVB. You remember AVB also?
I know. We might actually see him with the newly promoted teams, perhaps.
Ange?
Yeah.
No newly promoted team would sign Ange Postecoglou. Ange is
on the back of a win.
Like I said, he's like a
trophy.
Andre Villas-Boas.
Come on, bro. Anyway,
it's just vibes.
Thomas Frank, does he move the needle at Spurs?
Thomas Frank comes in, he moves the needle.
You think so?
Absolutely. Dude, all of the Brentford players, Flecken, Wissa, Mbeumo, out of nowhere, these guys have come through. You know what I mean?
True.
So I really think Thomas
You weren't
Frank,
even looking at Brentford.
Bro, Thomas Frank is one of the most spoken about and notable managers in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, you know what I mean? And I think Thomas Frank really does have that personality. You know what I'm saying? Let's not forget that the Premier League really is all about the audiences. Football is about audiences.
100%.
Thomas Frank knows how to play for the fans.
Gotcha.
And Ange Postecoglou doesn't. I mean, he's always slouching over in press conferences. He gets irritable with press. He doesn't know how to take a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thomas Frank is opposite, bro. Thomas Frank is very personable.
Yeah.
He really...
and he's likable.
Highly likable. Yeah. Think about some of the players that he plays for. Guys with lots of personality and character. Richarlison, Son, Dominic Solanke. These are guys with like big personalities.
Gotcha.
You know, and I think So is Mbeumo and Wisa, by the way.
Yeah.
And the Brentford players. They really have a lot of personality. So I think Thomas Frank complements the culture of the team of recently. The Harry Kane spirit is still there.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of personality in the team. And I think Pedro Porro, we know he's also got a lot of personality.
So you say he elevates the team instantly?
I think what Thomas Frank does for Spurs is similar to what Arne Slot does for Liverpool.
Really?
Yes, I think it's that personality and personality, expertise, and hunger.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell us what you think. Hit us up in the comments and let us know, do you think Thomas Frank actually moves the needle at Spurs, or is it just one of those where he gets sacked within a season or two? Because actually, now that I think of it, Spurs has been on a sacking trail. Right?
Yeah, Spurs has been on a sacking trail.
Yeah.
So, Thomas Frank, but I think Thomas Frank stays for a couple of seasons.
Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 2, Pitch In. Remember to follow us on our social media networks. Just search for Pitch In, TikTok, X, IG, even YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe. And do let us know in the comments as to what aspects of the show we should keep, what we should discard. It's still fairly new, so we're getting the groove of things. Your criticism, constructive criticism, if that actually is highly valued, is something that we constantly trying to do, is just to improve as much as we can. Away.
We are.